Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Casteras. I'm Christian Cawley, he's James McLean, and this week we're doing another Doctor Who commentary. Classic Doctor Who, again, this time. It is the 25th, the official 25th anniversary story, Silver Nemesis. So if you're going to watch along with us, we're going to hit play in after five, four, three, two, one. Volume was a little bit high there, sorry.
We're doing this for the 25th anniversary of Silver Nemesis, right?
I guess we are we? Are we? No,
Yeah.
that doesn't work. Does that work? Is that? No,
No,
that
yeah,
can't be.
yeah, it works.
No, that would be 1991. And that'd be
No,
35 years.
no, we've got to say 25 years, Christian. We've got to
Okay.
maintain the grasp that this time is not going further and further slipping from our fingers. 25, quarter of a century seems long enough. Anything beyond
Okay.
that is unacceptable. So we're doing this for the 25th anniversary, which puts us in, so this was what, 1988?
Yeah,
So that's 98, 2008.
2013.
2013. So we're doing this in 2013 alongside our other podcasts of that year, probably talking about Peter Capaldi. Well, we're talking about Peter Capaldi at the moment of this year, aren't we? Um, Stuff seems less crazy. Can't imagine there being any weird, wacky things in the world coming up post 2013. We've got past the apocalypse of 2012 that we were expecting, or a year after
Yeah, yeah,
that. I think
yeah.
everything's good. I don't think there's going to be any sort of division in the countries
No,
through geopolitical
2016 will be
changes, and
fine.
2016 will be fine. Uh, I'm sure there'll be no horrific sci-fi like virus situations that will change the world forever.
Probably not.
Everything's
No.
going to be good.
I
Yeah.
like, but getting back to this though.
Oh,
This is
yes.
this is supposed to be Argentina, isn't it?
This does not work well on a
No,
bigger set, does it?
but
I
it is supposed
never,
to be Argentina, and
I
then
mean, yeah. I mean, when I watched it at the time, I didn't, I mean, obviously at the time, I know younger people who might listen to this, and I don't really actually believe you exist, but if you did, would probably think, oh, did they just not notice that that was like a really bad chroma key sort of static shot of what was meant to be a different country behind the villa?
yeah,
We kind of did, but the screens were smaller, so you didn't really
yeah,
notice it as much.
sort of lower fidelity. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But on this, that looked really bad. I was really shocked that it was just static. That was just this static blur. It wasn't
yeah.
even like a
But these two as well. I mean, Lady
painful.
Peinforte and
Yeah,
Richard. Yeah,
Richard. Yeah.
yeah. I was a little bit doubtful about them when I first watched this, but they do have an interesting role within the story, more
Well,
so than other characters later on.
I think what's fascinating about them is you could almost pull them out of the story and have like a comic strip, which would be like Lady Painfort and Richard. One of them is a murderer, and the other is Lady Painfort, because he is actually throughout. He's a nice guy in this, but he kills people,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and yet we don't really ever address that. It's kind of like on the scale of bad things going on in this episode, it's like we can forgive him from potentially being part of very grisly things. He was only following orders,
He was
which
only following orders, just
which
like this
is
fella.
which is again a say interesting parallel
Yeah.
uh, to the Fourth Reich and populism and fascism's rise, which of course won't be a thing happening post 2013 either. That's
Yeah. You mean Third Reich, don't you? Unless
what,
have you,
what did I say second?
you said fourth.
Well, they said fourth.
Oh, they said fourth there. Yeah, yeah. Beg your
Yeah, so
pardon.
I
Yeah,
think that got in my head, but yeah, I
yeah,
know
yeah,
what you mean.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I do like the way that this plays into that sort of idea that lots of Nazis ran away to Argentina. Apparently, there's
Hmm.
like a few villages in Argentina where everyone's blonde.
But I think what's quite I doubt there was any thought about this, but what I like about them in this is that the which I could have imagined Doctor Who doing, that the Nazism isn't sort of aesthetically too obvious, which I
Mm,
think gives it quite a credibility thing. They are
yeah.
people who follow an ideology, but they're not having to be dressed like 1940s uh, Nazis. They
Oh.
are.
Well, just looking at what we're looking at now, we've got an artifact, we've got people talking in the past, and we've got Nazis. It's an Indiana Jones movie, isn't it?
Yeah. And at the time, I loved it for this. I loved this episode when it came out,
Mm,
just because it was just so varied. I
yeah,
loved this whole skipping around the place. It felt really fresh. It felt different. This lovely bit with, which I
Corny
know,
Pine.
yeah, Connie Pine and this.
I think my cousins played with Corny Pine.
Cool.
If beating skins can be called
I love the
skiing.
way the two cyber soldiers are sitting there on the table listening. I'd never noticed that before with their cyber headphones on. It's like they've been programmed to blend in with the crowd.
Yeah.
And Mira getting a bit of a plug there. But yeah, I mean, this bit I loved as well because you didn't rarely get to see stuff like this where the Doctor would just be chilling and then them having adventures which were not, deadly adventures. You always get this notion that sometimes they go to places and just hang out. It's very rare you actually see them.
Mm. I love how his high tech LCD
Yeah,
is hiding inside his pocket watch.
yeah. Well, it's the future, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Or he's from the future.
Well, I mean, we are using LCD right now. It just doesn't look like that.
Yeah, but one would hope that Gallifrey would not be using LCD by their point. That's my point. But then Gallifrey likes to use light bulbs in its equipment. So what are we to say?
Oh, yeah. Supermarket lighting, indeed.
I mean, I love at this point that these two are just so natural.
Yeah,
I mean, Aldred's great in this, and he's just got his doctor down exactly as he wants. There's this nice mix of, I mean, obviously, he doubles down next season a bit more, but this thing, especially when you consider that Doctor Who, as much as a lot of 50-year-old men don't like to admit, is a show, especially at this point, which is very much aimed at sort of hitting a teenage audience.
mm.
He has a really nice mix of being, in a different way to Baker, very gentle, fun, someone you would perhaps like to hang out with, but slightly mysterious.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's pure McCoy, isn't it? The spitting
Mm.
of the water. That's a great face as well from Aldred. I like the dressing of this space as well. I mean, I'm assuming, I mean, I can't remember. I mean, I've read up on this many years ago, but I'm assuming this is actually a location.
I think it is. I think it all is.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah, no,
studio
because
work
there's
in it,
no
is there?
studio work in this one, is there?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Which again is why I think it feels quite cool all the way through. It's like Spearhead, where you get this sort of sense of Doctor Who in the real world with no studio aesthetics,
Yeah.
harsh lighting and the like. I like Aldred's hair in this. I like how by this season they stopped that sort of very tight, pulled back ponytail, and they've softened it with that sort of slight hanging at the front. It's quite unusual. And it's so weird that t-shirt she's wearing is so 1980s. It looks like it's something that a costume designer from the 2013 would use to to demonstrate they're from the 1980s, the late 1980s. That's a real
Yeah, yeah,
1988,
it is. Yeah.
1989 t-shirt. Specific, really specific to a few years.
We used to get magazines through the school, like Department of Education pamphlets about careers with designs like that on the front.
Yes, you did. Although the way you pronounced careers there to me sounded like careers, which is really interesting. Well,
Careers. Oh, this
yeah,
must be
careers,
one of my
careers,
few
careers,
northern tells.
careers. Yeah, one of the few.
One of the many. Uh,
I mean, again, this is a basic effect, but I always like it when Doctor Who does something which just about works.
well, the other thing as well is, I mean, they're using sort of magic to travel through time,
Mm.
aren't they? Essentially, which isn't a million miles away from that Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour movie, the name of which escapes me at the moment, but it will come back to me, where he uses hypnosis to travel through time. I seem to recall.
It's so weird. You see how many frames of animation that is very limited.
Mm.
But
It
it
works well
again,
though.
it does its job, and this nice transition works.
It does actually because it actually the effect actually takes you away from the fact that they're actually moving and then the two people
Mm,
appear there. So that is quite
mm.
yeah.
And a good reason to use that's a set location. It gives that nice sort of split between the two times. I mean, I do hate the pullover. I always have hated the pullover. Um,
Mm.
it's sort of thing that sort of again fascinating bit of branding that Turner was trying to go for throughout this period. But yeah,
It moves along, doesn't it?
that's
The
again,
story.
this feels the one outside of survival. This feels the closest thing to both New Who and the New Adventures.
Mm.
The New Adventures would often play, especially at the beginning, a jump around as it sort of
Yeah.
introduces the characters that it'll be playing with throughout the book.
I mean, a lot of them from this era, certainly this season and the next, they do move with some pace. Remember, the Daleks has a bit of pace to it, but obviously it's a four-part and it has a bit more to do,
But I
and there's
think
more slower pieces to it. But the cutting and the editing naturally add to the pace of this, don't they?
But I think what is different here, which we see a lot in the new series, it's like the first time, and probably one of the only times, but definitely the first time, where you have the fast pace of the actual narrative motivated by the fact you have a time machine which can
Mm.
move through point to point in the story. So I mean, here we've had him. I remember when I saw the trailer for this, thinking it was the Axons. When there's a shot close up that's coming up of him with the head of the statue here, and I remember
Yeah.
watching the trailer thinking, "Oh, we're going to have some that." As a kid, I was like, "Oh, is this going to be like Axos again?" Anyway, yeah, but I think the whole thing of him being able to use the TARDIS narratively so they can move him easily within the story.
Yeah.
We never really had that, and it was different, but we've had that a lot in the new series.
Yes. Yes.
Is that a rover? An old rover?
Yeah, I think
That
it
car?
was.
That's good as well.
Why didn't you just open the door?
I know. Oh, I suppose you've got to say, oh, look, it's a Fez. Fez is cool. Maybe this is where the Doctor decided Fezes were cool.
Maybe.
Maybe this was the starting point of that. But it's a very good way to, because this first episode is telling a lot of story. And rather than just have that sort of exposition be in one space, one of the first
Yeah.
examples of the TARDIS actually making an atmospheric disturbance when it appears,
Yeah. Yeah. The candle there.
the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
candle.
It's almost a sort of a documentary approach, isn't it? You could
Yeah,
almost imagine Sylvester McCoy actually just being Sylvester McCoy and telling this story in different locations,
yeah, yeah.
like bridging narration or whatever. But yeah, yeah,
But it means it zips along in a way that very few other Doctor Who stories of this era do. And I really like it for that.
yeah, yeah,
And even the next two episodes do the same essentially, especially third, in a different way. But the whole story zips along.
I mean, I think we've talked about this before, the pace of sort of this era, and I think we were mainly talking about survival at the time. But it does, I mean, obviously there's the reflection, the comparison with the modern series, but there's also just the fact that it was completely unlike anything else that was on TV at the time. Certainly nothing that was on BBC One or ITV at the time. Nothing else moved along with such pace, except, I don't know, maybe the news. No, not even the news in those days. It was just, I mean, this is on opposite Coronation Street, which has got, 5-minute scenes or whatever. This has
Yeah,
got scenes lasting 30 seconds.
which was expensive.
Yeah,
This era, you want to have your scenes going longer to save the costs of not just well, on so many levels. The less you can move around within a studio or having to move around from scenes per scenes, you're saving money. And as you say, for this to all be done on location as well. I mean, some have argued in the past the criticisms of this story, and there are a lot of criticisms for Silver Nemesis, are things like it's too busy, which I disagree with. Episode two, I would agree, is a very messy episode. I don't enjoy episode two really. As I've got older, I've enjoyed Peinforte and Richard more. I think the Cyberman story itself is a little guest starry. They don't really have a massive role apart from again pushing the story forward. But yeah, it's just um, I think this is I think from a creative storytelling point of view, what I've always liked about this is, as you say, so much of this is just exposition. It's just McCoy narrating or setting up the
Mm.
story. And yet, even within the scenes, the camera and the actors, everything is still pretty active. I mean, we're not seeing many cuts. We're sitting on the same camera for a lot of this work. But within that space, I mean, we've seen here he's played with the ball, he's gone to the fire, he's
Yeah.
gone back to Ace, he's now moved into the background of the shot. It's keeping you in the space while he's just basically telling you stuff. I mean, this is very Doctor Who. This is very Cartmel era because it almost feels like, why?
Yeah. The
Why?
Cybermen are very prepared. They know the doctor's going to be there. They've got two guys with headsets and they've got some gas
I love this shot
barrels.
coming up of as a kid, I loved it because it's again by this point in the show, there was this notion of we get the TARDIS into the space, no one notices it. And I just found it manic. And as a kid, just watching, it just appears and no one notices. And now we
Mm.
obviously have reasons for it in the new series. But at the time, it felt such a blatant, it felt like such a baller move just to sort of like, yeah, they just appear and everyone just carries on. Should the audience question it? We don't care. It still absolutely terrifies me when I now realize that McCoy at this stage is younger than I am,
Oh.
you know?
Working titles for this story included The Harbinger and Nemesis.
I still have somewhere a production order sheet, which the BBC, if you wrote to them at the time, the department would often send back stuff. I remember a
All
friend
right.
of mine they sent back a massive bundle of, I think it was production details for one of the earlier seasons. I can't remember what season it
Right.
was. And I did the same for this season, and it came back, and it was at the point where the production order and the names were Cat Flap. Battlefield wasn't first, and that was the Avalon name that it had. I think that this might have been Nemesis at the time. Um, oh no, wait a second. I'm looking at season four. No, season after this. It wasn't Nemesis, so it would have been season 26 that I got the stuff for.
Right.
So yeah, it was Cat Flap, the Avalon, Storm over Avalon. I think Battlefield was originally called something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they used to send out stuff to fans who'd write to them, little bits of which was really sweet. It wouldn't be necessary, but
The production team tried to get Prince Edward involved in the show, but he politely declined.
it's such a. I suppose some people do dislike this episode story because it is just such a mix of styles. I
Well, the
mean,
medieval stuff's a little bit on the cod side, isn't it? And the
yeah,
costumes are very, very pristine.
yeah. But again, it's an era of the show where you do feel this tension of like, who is its audience?
Yeah.
Is it aimed at kids? It's still kind of aimed at families, but it really does feel its production values and the way that Nathan Turner uh, essentially show runs it. He keeps it very much in that space. And you think of like, his caution over Curse of Fenric, his desire to have a monster of the week in every story, that there was no real set approach to grow or evolve Doctor Who into something which was perhaps where it needed to be at the time.
How did that guy end up under the car? Yeah.
I'm still I'm still not convinced who set the stuff. I mean, was it definitely the Cybermen? It's not the
I think it is
statue.
the Cybermen. I mean, it could be the statue, I suppose. I always felt it was the Cybermen.
But I've always liked that about this sort of era. And it's sort of where it's a point where it's like, yeah, it's a little mysterious. You can debate it, which gives it a bit of longevity. Because in the end, it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, if it was a Cyberman, it's like, why didn't they just dig it up? So I'm assuming it must be defenses of the statue, but then it's never done again. So again, unless it's them, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think it can be them.
I never read the book of this, so I'm not sure whether the book gives any more
No.
details.
There's a longer edition of this as well, although
That is true.
I can never determine whether I'm watching the longer edition or the original either.
This
So,
is the original
right.
because the setup at the jazz is longer.
Okay.
There are a couple of things. There's the bit in the because they pass by the painting of Ace in the Windsor Castle, which is in the
Ah,
longer cut,
right.
which we don't
Was
have
that in
here.
episode one?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, good point. Well, if we don't see it at all, well, we can tell you at
Yeah.
the end of the 70 minutes
Yes.
whether it's.
Yes.
It's funny because watching this just reminds me that if Doctor Who had been shot out of studio the whole time, I think it would have been such a certainly for McCoy. I think because McCoy and his approach to the Doctor is quite unreal. Putting him into real spaces works better than when he's in a studio where he sort of, which already looks a bit unreal, if that sort of makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just thinking of this and Delta and the Bannermen, Survival, Curse of Fenric. They really work for him.
Yeah, they do. The dialogue suggests that the doctor's believes that the policemen are down not because of Differing's men. So that would again imply the Cybermen
I think you're
or
right.
or the Meteor.
Again, I could be, I mean, there are literal fans who might be listening to this who have, better than people like me. But I seem to remember that was there an early draft where it was Cybermats at the
That rings a bell. This
which
is
would make more sense.
yes, yeah. So this is the end of part one.
Yeah.
The thing I wanted to say at the beginning was I've always liked these opening titles. I know they're a bit like jazzy, but in terms of the quality and the visual effects, I think they're fine.
I'd love to have seen a version redone of this for the DVDs without the asteroids
Uh-huh.
and even without the police box, which at the time I really liked as a kid.
Yeah.
And it looked a bit like the DePaul police
Oh,
box, which was
yeah.
very flat. But yeah, if this title sequence didn't have these sort of very basic CG elements, I think it would have been far more powerful. I mean, this in itself, I think, is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been very keen on the music for this, and the logo. I think the logo is absolutely awful.
No, it's not great. I mean, it's probably the worst logo, isn't it? I think.
I think so. You just can't mix those two styles. And it's a funny thing because it's a logo which feels like a period which is trying to break away from traditional typography and trying to be a bit more 80s jazzy, but it just doesn't work. Um, I mean,
So we're in,
I'd rank it below even the 2005 logo, which is absolutely terrible.
yeah. Is yours continuing on?
Yes, mine
Right.
has. Is yours?
Yes, but there was a pause.
Oh, mine paused as well. So I'm on the
Okay.
intro credits at the moment.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh, here comes
So
the police box.
yeah. Oh, mine's just appeared before yours. So we're into episode 2 of Silver Nemesis now, as part of our commentary, talking over the television. I really hate it when people talk over the television. But if you're joining us for this, the title sequence is just about to finish, and Silver Nemesis by Kevin Clark has appeared on the screen. And Kevin Clark actually appears as a tourist in the Windsor Castle scenes.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's funny about people talking over stuff. I've been I've long-term listeners to this garbage heap of a podcast may remember Magnus, and I've been watching uh, Babylon 5 with Magnus. We've not seen it before, and watching it on Discord, watching it while they're on Discord, and can tell they don't want to talk while they're watching it. Well, I do,
Yeah,
because some people just like to sit and absorb, even if first time, second time, they just like that approach. I like to explore what it's making me feel and think. Cybermen. Again, I didn't mind this update. The the gloves I thought were kind of fun. Oh, both of them enjoying a little bit of their stunt work. Again, what is this place? I mean, I know it's a hangar, but you know that wreck of a car which they've just been hiding behind.
mm,
Oh,
it's
McCoy is massively dirty there.
yeah,
Look at his jacket.
yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna have a look at the production notes. I always assumed it was some sort of Dockland area. It doesn't actually say. Oh, right, okay. The Doctor and Ace meet and combat the Cybermen on the side that later became the Millennium Dome.
Really?
Yeah,
Ah, other people have argued, and with reason, I guess, that the gold allergy for the Cybermen gets out of control in this episode, and I can get that.
yeah. I'm not against that argument.
I mean, it's fun, and this episode is one that just spins along, so I don't mind it for that reason. It just comes part of the action. But you know, when it was meant to be a metal which you know, coated when it got hot in those breathing systems and would sort of coat their breathing respiratory systems and suffocate them, which is pretty grim. And now, you know, just literally are allergic to the touch of gold. But in a weird way, I kind of like that, especially at this point with Silver Nemesis, and they are silver, and they are their enemy is gold. There's a weird sort of like a metaphysical, I don't
Yeah,
know, carrying a substance to which they are vulnerable. And Big Finish did some sort of retro, and I think there's a long conversation about gold and the Cybermen, which is really interesting. I'm trying to remember the details of it about how that allergy appears and why. Because, you know, at some points it's obviously not really there. This was an interesting thing as well from a nerdy point of view that if something's attached to the TARDIS, it will go with the TARDIS. The arrow in the
yeah,
which is obviously for a plot point for later on. But one would argue, you know, a plasmic shell, which is a facade of wood slash concrete, you wouldn't think that an arrow with a with a soft gold tip would perhaps
No, probably not.
break it, but okay.
In fact, I'd worry that it would even real would.
Yes, very true. A lot of low angles of Cybermen in this to try and make them look taller,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I respect. So this is,
They've
yeah.
I was going to say they've repainted them, haven't they? They're very shiny in this
Mm.
as well. Again for the silver. I remember when I first rediscovered my rekindled my appreciation of Doctor Who, or rather, I wasn't even that really. It was just I rediscovered it in 1994 via a special edition of Doctor Who magazine, which was a part Silver Nemesis and part Unearthly Child. It was like split down the middle, and you'd flip it over, so like it was you'd turn it over, and there's a lot of like the publicity shots and off camera shots and stuff in there, and I remember really liking the design of the Cybermen in it and the little Cybercon dock thing that they've got. The little it's not a cyber control. Is it called a cyber controller? I can't remember in the dialogue or not. It's basically like a little six-sided thing that they have that is quite narrow on that. I just really appreciate the whole design of it, and the magazine really. I spent a lot of time poring over the details. This is in the days when I was buying like Matrix, the Universal Data Banks and stuff like that from W.H. Smith, and really and getting into the New Adventures as well. That was all around the same time in '94.
The golden era.
Well, I mean, in many ways it was.
Yeah. One of the few golden eras to exist without the actual artifact that is golden.
Hmm. Well, you got Star Wars as well, haven't you? Which it really had a similar sort of era around the same
Mm.
sort of time. Watch those fences.
Look
Or the
out for
trees.
shadows.
Trees, yeah.
No, no shadows. No, fine. Yep, let's labor this. I'll give
Here we
them
go.
credit. I like the fact that they actually did it so it looked like it came, there was like a layer where it actually landed.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they got out with a mower beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, this I felt at the time.
Well, it's padding, isn't it? Which seems bizarre for a three-parter.
But it's padding, but it doesn't work. I think that's the problem. I
Mm.
don't mind it being a bit of padding, but it's too silly and too sanitized. I think that they just shouldn't have done it. Having Peinforte and Richard wandering around 20th century Windsor or wherever, I think it's fun. I like that. But these two goons who they don't even murder, which is really what
Yeah.
Richard would do, it just felt just out of sync. This is a fun space for the Cybermen, all that light. Costumes must have been a pain. So this
Yeah. But burn
whole,
the clothes, why not?
but leave them their underwear, which is meant to be slightly cheeky underwear as well. And it's just like, yeah, get in the
Yeah.
bin. I remember when it first came on, for some reason, I had, well, ADHD, which I didn't realize at the time. Totally somehow forgotten that it was on, and I was really annoyed that I came in at the back end of this episode and
Oh,
missed episode two. And a friend, I think, had videotaped it, so I got to see it, and invariably was disappointed with what I saw. Of all the three episodes, retrospectively, it's the one that I'm always happy to miss. And I think I'd videoed the other two, so in my own collection, my Silver Nemesis missed episode two, and didn't really feel like it lost anything for it. There's nothing real. Yeah, they pulled out the old prop, um, the old cyber prop.
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I was trying
Yeah,
to allude
yeah.
to earlier. Yeah, yeah.
But that's also, isn't that also in one of the earlier ones? Isn't that also in Earthshock? Or
I
is it
think there's a
not?
larger, I think it's a redesigned one or a
Right.
completely different one. But yeah. Well, yeah, I think the design it's a lot cleaner. I think it's smaller than one on Earthshock. I'm not sure.
I mean, I loved this as well, with the two of them just laying around mid-mission, having fun.
Yes,
You know, you got a sense, given that Ace was a character which joined the Doctor just because, really, she didn't really want to get home, very much like the new series companions. But I did kind of feel like she was the sort of person who would enjoy this. While so many of the companions you get, like Rose, who I never felt was really set out, would never really enjoy this sort of world. I always felt that Rose would always kind of like going places where, like a 21st century teenager, where there's like parties and big things to
sunshine,
see and stuff to record and video
beaches.
and beaches. And yeah, I don't think this sort of stuff would be her space, but it would be Ace's space. While the stuff that Rose would enjoy would be stuff that Ace just wouldn't go with.
Space of Ace.
Yeah, I guess. And again, all this stuff is it's nice and it sort of does a lot for their weird relationship. But I mean, this is interesting stuff as well. I don't mind it. If it was more of this, episode two as a filler would be fine. In fact, to be fair, I think for me, episode two's frustration is the two guys.
Hmm.
I mean, this I quite like. It's unneeded, but I
It
think
is,
it's
but it adds
interesting.
some, yeah, but it
Hmm.
adds the whole challenge of what's happening and whether they might actually be successful as well. If he's going to die in whatever year and he's in the future at the moment, then presumably he's going to get home. So maybe
Which he
he just,
does.
yeah, which he does, yeah, as we know, but it adds to the tension a little bit. Death is but a door.
But I also love, again, and I suppose I've always loved the escapism in TV where you can go to different places. On a small scale, there's just so much variety in this story.
Yeah,
Where you think Doctor Who tradition, as we've said before, traditionally is always like three studio locations largely, and then running between the three of them for various reasons. You know, where this show start, I mean, to a degree, yeah, it does go back to there at the end, but you know, the bits in the countryside here with them langering around. Well, I can't say it. The jazz
lounging.
piece, lounging. Thank you. The crypt, um, the the Nazi home base. You know, there's just so many little Windsor Castle.
It's actually Arundel. I think it's Windsor from the long shot, but once they're actually on location, it's Arundel.
I think the fascinating
Which I've never been
thing
to.
again is, for the sake of the story, to some degree, Cybermen are just wandering around. No police, no concern from anyone. No one sees any of this.
Well, yeah, there's no explanation of how they get from A to B either, is there? Other than their big space. Well, I mean, it's got to be their spaceship, hasn't it? So there
Yeah.
is an explanation, but like no one's noticing it. Is the takeaway from that?
So I suppose you've got to argue that you're in a place where there's no internet, there's no like social ability, social alert system like you'd have
Hmm.
now, because someone would see this, snap it on their phone, it'd go up, news would pick it up.
Yeah.
So if the police don't see it, if people don't report it, like the bit at Canary Wharf, no one would have probably seen that. Now they're in the countryside, no one would really see that. And we imagine that the ship has some sort of cloaking facilities in terms of radar and the like, so no one would
Well, we find
notice
out
it.
that later on. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in a weird way, yeah, they could wander around to some degree with no
Yes.
engagement of even unit. I mean, the funny thing is for me, if I was a Cyberman and I was aware that the touch of gold, be it a propelled coin or an arrow, could kill me, I'd perhaps wear a leather jacket.
Maybe.
Or
Well,
yeah,
have not a weakness on my
that's what I
right in
mean.
front of me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would even consider getting a ceramic plate
A
and
ceramic plate,
taping
or,
it.
or
Taping.
maybe even, and hear me out, a cricket bat.
They are set up at the moment for cricket bats. Whether they realize it or not, those gloves are perfect somehow. I mean, I suppose this is the only one of the only bits in the second episode, which is actually perhaps quite important, how they get rid of the ship
Mm.
and thus no other Cybermen. But you don't still really need it.
Nice model, that. But sadly
Yeah,
short-lived.
yeah.
I've always liked I know obviously it looks dated now, and it wasn't 100% convincing at the time, but I've always liked the effect of the Cyberman ship, and you know how they basically they walk out of a corridor in a
Mm.
door, and it's keyed on and that. I always thought it looked good.
I mean, I think again to young people, it's always worth mentioning this, is that it wasn't that any of this fooled people at the time. It's not
No,
like people were naive and couldn't see the effects or even understand how they were made. You could, but you just accepted it. And
yeah,
in a sense, it became a bit of it's one of the things I've always hated about CG is that if it becomes seamless, it becomes invisible, it becomes unappreciated. But a matte painting is always visible. You can 9 times out of 10 tell it's a matte painting, but you can still enjoy the artistry in it.
yeah.
What happened to the actor who's playing Richard?
I think he passed away a few years
Oh, that's a
ago,
shame.
if I remember rightly. Jared Murphy passed away in 2013. He's from Northern Ireland.
No, I don't recall seeing him in much, but then
No,
I was
he's
never
lot of theatre.
lots of theatre.
Yeah,
That does not surprise me.
no.
It's funny to think this would have been the last appearance of the Cybermen till Age of Steel, Rise of the Cybermen, Rise of
Yes.
Cybermen, Age of Steel.
Apart from that head in Dalek.
Yes, that is true.
And it's also the last appearance of Anton Diffring, who made lots of movies in which he played Nazis. Although,
Well,
oh no,
that's
he
probably.
was German. Yeah, I was wondering whether he might actually be in Belgium, but no, he was actually
I
he was
was going to
German.
say it's an unexpected career trajectory you perhaps wouldn't predict.
Well, certainly later on, because he was German, so maybe you think, well, maybe I don't want to do that after everything that's happened. And he was born in 1916, so his early life,
But then, it's
he was Jewish.
but I
So
mean, at least he's German with Michael
yes,
Shard and his continual appearances as Hitler through his career. Uh, he wasn't even German. He just had the look, which is probably a
yeah,
weird thing to feel. It's a weird thing with the Cybermen is that you can see why David Banks keep coming back because you compare it to the other Cybermen and he's got so much more in the space than the others are who are just sort
yes,
of
he does. Yeah.
standing. He's acting through that.
It's just
Skill.
an interesting thing about Anton Diffring. He actually worked for the War Office as an interpreter during World War Two.
Isn't this is the weird bit for the outro of two where he spots a chameleon or he spots a lizard and thinks that they're a chameleon and thinks they're cloaked. Now,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've never seen in this country. Is it just meant to be a lizard and then he makes the leap?
I think it is meant to be a lizard, and he makes a leap. Yeah,
It's a big leap,
it
but
is.
then
No, it's not a huge leap.
or is it just that the lizard just has the mottling that's similar to the wood, and therefore
Well, we'll find out in
he's
a moment, won't we? Maybe.
maybe, yeah, it's coming up soon. We're almost at the end of two, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing else of nothing else that can happen. Yeah, 70s and 80s TV lived and died by reflective surfaces, which you could reflect light on and for it to bounce back. Reflective paints and stuff. And see, it's interesting again how do we see him fire any arrows into people? I don't think we do, even though we assume there he might have hit someone. The bow. Where is the bow? Well, I'd hate to disagree. I mean, if you ingested gold, you do have weaknesses to gold, mate. You
Yeah,
do
and
have
also
weaknesses to gold.
those arrows would probably pierce your skin as well.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure, Anton, if we put you in an arena with a Cyberman, and even if you put a little bit of gold in that arena as well,
Oh, and the Carl is played by a gentleman called Metan Yenal. This is an awful Wikipedia entry. For a couple of years, he was in a relationship with composer Peter Maxwell Davies before being dumped for a younger man. Wikipedia is really awful these days.
these days I thought it's always been
Well,
fairly
there was a
awful.
time when it was quite good, but that's awful thing. Why would anyone write that on Wikipedia? Absolutely irrelevant.
Here we go. This is the
Yeah.
coming up. I don't remember that shot of the planet. They're shrouded.
Yes, the shroud. It's not a cloaking device, it's a shrouding device.
I still find that lizard a really odd point of connection. I wonder if it sort of felt better in the script than it did actually when you.
Yeah.
But it worked, I guess. I find, and I always did, those warships really hard to discern their shape.
They seem to be
Um,
long and thin, but it's not.
I can't really work out what they are. Hmm.
I think maybe they made half of a design and then stuck it together in several places and then had the other half just at the edge of the screen. Perhaps.
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 I don't know. Skinheads. They were labeled as skinheads.
Of course they were.
So I think for this next episode, if you want to pause just as you go into it, and I'll pause as well. And so we don't have, because I have a feeling the lag between the two of us will grow as
Okay.
our streams, because you must be coming to the end or ready to.
Yeah, with costume designer Richard Croft. Script editor Andrew
Costume
Cartman.
designer Richard Croft. So about 2 seconds behind you, maybe.
Okay.
Designer, producer,
Chris Clough.
Chris Cloth.
Clough. Okay.
Right. So I'm pausing now. So I'm on 000.
Hang on, just give me a sec.
It's all right.
All right. So I'm at 000 now, so we're gonna count it
Yep.
in. Okay.
Yep.
I'll do some verbiage for the podcast. So if you're listening to if you're joining us for part 3 of Silver Nemesis, we're going to count in now after 3, 3, 2, 1.
One of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who, this,
Is
I
it?
think, this episode, yeah.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this many times over the many years that we shouldn't have been doing this, but this was the first time that you really had a proper action sequence in Doctor Who that I can think of.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Because it just wasn't the space, there wasn't the money or technology to really choreograph such a thing. And I think doing it in a big hangar obviously allowed them a lot of space. So the whole end sequence of this, I think it's just such a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And it's well paced, it's exciting. There is some sluggish bits in this episode, but I think by and large it's yeah, and it has a good end as well. It has a satisfying end to it. And I think I know a lot of people compare this to Remembrance for obvious reasons, and even the
Yeah.
story itself does. But I feel there is a difference in pace here, and there's a difference in how the Doctor works within this. He's far more collected in Remembrance. Well, this is like it's like he's like on holiday. There's no sense that he's particularly worried, but there's no sense that this could bring the doom to everything. Okay, there's moments like this. Cyber warships, thousands of them. But ultimately, he's hanging around from branches, sitting against trees, chatting, bit of jazz, bit of wordplay.
The bird impersonation.
Yes. God, that must have been a nice find.
Mm.
I do not live in the world of what should. I always like that line. But you're a good man, Richard. And that line less so. And I am evil.
It's one of those lines that a piece of dialogue or just it's a sentiment expressed by the person saying it, or even by a third party, that it really kind of underlines or just takes away from the world that's been created, doesn't it? It's a very
Yeah.
it's sub cod. It's not
Yeah.
even, it's very yeah. It's not the sort of thing you really want to stumble into.
I find this an odd scene with the Doctor and Ace because I don't feel any reason why Ace should feel scared in this episode compared to what she's usually sees.
I think this goes back to the way that the Cybermen dispatched the whoever it was they dispatched earlier on, and she realised that could have been her in the previous episode. Oh yeah, he's blocking it with jazz, isn't he? Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. That's very Doctor.
That is a big. It's weird when you see the size of that boombox and you know what it is. It's just like a tape player, really, with a
Yeah.
radio on it
Yeah.
and some speakers.
Rarely saw one that size, to be honest
No,
with you.
it's ridiculous.
I remember wanting one that was quite big, which had detachable speakers.
Yes. But
Never got it.
they still had to have leads.
Oh
They
yeah,
weren't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
detachable by themselves. People these
No, no,
days, the
no.
listener who is young will be thinking, oh, so you've got like Bluetooth. Like,
Yeah,
no, they
no.
still had to have leads. The leads wired into the back and they sort of wrapped round inside. I had one a bit like that.
Oh, look at you.
I like this bit of blocking here, and the choreograph is cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything, because it's a very small space that they're working in there. Ridiculously small, really. I mean, there's just no way. And they have fun with it. The way he's got his hat on the gun, and the guy,
Yeah.
the other one holding
Giving him the umbrella instead of the
the
arrow,
umbrella.
the bow.
The
Yeah.
umbrella Cyberman looks genuinely upset. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's twitching, almost like in. That might be one of the best
Cannot
moments of Doctor Who I've
compute.
seen. Yeah, I cannot compute. Almost like when you get in a sandbox game or something like GTA and there's like a glitch and
Mm.
there's a character which just starts to judder because it doesn't know what to do,
Yes.
kind of trapped in the environment. That was that Cyberman. It was trapped in the environment.
I like that effect. That's quite good. The
Yeah,
model shot's not so good, but the weather bit is
the
good.
weather bit's good. The model shot's really sort of like early 80s, 70s vibe. I mean, hats off to the director of this episode. I feel like there's a lot of play with different sort of shot lengths and
Mm.
positioning. It just feels quite, it feels like in every scene there has been some thought about how to actually make this dynamic.
Aside from whatever the point of the skinheads was, every scene does the job of pushing the story along as well.
I just laugh his way he throws the gold dust in the Cyberman's face, and it's just a little me. He's like, "Is it just gold dust, or is it just the fact that someone's just thrown something in your face?" And it's just like, what the hell, mate? What the hell? That's just so uncool.
How
I
rude.
can't see why you do that. But yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Every scene, apart from the side, the bullies, which I mean does have its purpose to a degree, but fails to do what it's trying to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
I love this scene as well. And obviously they use this to play into Curse of Fenric, with the
Yes.
idea that at this point the Doctor's aware of Fenric and is kind of aware that he's playing a larger game. So, where Ace here is sort of saying, well, what is going on here, Doctor? And it's like, well, obviously now we know retrospectively that yeah, there's something bigger going on. This upcoming car scene I don't enjoy. It's probably the one that is the slowest of the show.
I was just digging into what Chris Clough does these days. He's moved away from direction into production. He produced the Mr. Bates versus the Post Office.
Oh wow, that's a
So
big
he's,
win.
he's been keeping busy over the years, yeah. And he's from Harrogate as well, here in Yorkshire.
To people who are not northern, that is pronounced Harrogate. Yeah, I just love this sequence from here. It's just a shame it's punctuated a bit by the terrible car ride.
Ah, yes.
I mean, again, there's just so much little bits I love in some nuances. I love how she's sitting at the bus stop waiting patiently, as she would, while he's there trying to thumb a lift. I mean, comes back to John Nathan Turner's love of like celebrity drop-ins and
Yes. The thing about it was, of course, that really no one knew who she was
yeah, I had no idea.
unless you were keyed into like old Hollywood movies or West End slash Broadway, you had no idea who Dolores Gray
Yeah.
was.
See, I far prefer this reaction Ace has um to the statue to a reaction to the Cybermen. I feel the statue is something which would have her in awe
Mm.
and would be because that hanging around with the Doctor that would seem something that you would be worried about. Wasn't it something like they only cautious you could only do um a certain amount of time and they did this scene in the car?
I think that she was in something at the time.
Yeah,
Yes. She was in Stephen Sondheim's Follies at the Shaftesbury Theatre
right.
in 1987. So she was either still in that when they were producing this, or she was still in the country, I would imagine.
I love this scene as well with the Ace and the statue, and you just got the Doctor working in the background. And again, a simple, largely practical effect, which works.
Mm.
Yeah. It just feels like, I mean, this to me feels like a scene that shouldn't be in the show, which is added in a special edition in the
Yes.
car. It feels, but this, I love this. I love
Yes,
these long
totally.
shots and these the shots of Ace running down. There's a lot of pace here. Then there's these great reactions. And again, it's such a simple effect with a catapult where you don't have to see anything. You just got to
No.
the signal of it being fired and then the explosion. It's really, but it works. Find and destroy her. Classic David Banks Cyberman
Yep.
grasp of the air. And then we go back to this, and it's like this is just a real weird.
Mm. Well, I mean, it is it's the skinheads again, really, isn't it?
It
It
is
doesn't, it's not adding
absolutely.
anything.
It almost feels like they just don't know really what else to do with Peinforte. And while I think they're both quite good characters, there is always a bit of me which wonders, was it a mistake? Is she just an extra element which just doesn't?
Yeah. She doesn't add anything, does it? Does she really?
If you didn't have her, you've still got the Cybermen, you've still got the
Yeah.
Nazis. Do you not have enough? But then, as you say, I mean, again, I love that point of view shot there. I think that's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I mean, again, I say
Raw.
I mean, isn't this cool? This is for the
Yes, it
show at the
is. It is.
time, really dynamic in a way the show's never been able to be at this point. I've never quite understood where this is. My brain always thinks that she's back in the castle for some reason. It doesn't
Mm.
feel like part of the same, but he's really playing. I'm feeling he must be the one who had the arrow. No, the umbrella, sorry, the umbrella.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I like this as well. There's a nice bit of break for the tension where she tries to get the coins again and she can't. I think she gets a couple. I mean, well, the doctor's is totally okay with this. She'll be fine.
She can look after herself.
I love this shot on the gantry. I think this gantry bit is just brilliantly done. I'm not sure it communicates the action perfectly in its outcome, but I love it for the character. I think it's one of the best companion moments where the companion, this is her story. It's not the doctor's story. This is her story, but she's not dominating the story. And it just gives her such agency. I love the shot of the police box underneath
Yeah.
to give
Good.
height. And then the fact she is absolutely what the children would probably say, and the adults, fucked. She got, and she knows it. So next, who'll be next and who'll be lucky? I think that's just such a great moment. Almost like you could episode out on that.
You could.
Shoots at him, ducks, and they shoot each other. It's not
Yeah.
massively clear.
No, it needs an extra shot maybe just
It,
to establish
yeah,
he's shooting
but I
like
just
a
love it. I think
bump shot, but it is good. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just great. And then I also like how he finishes off setting the rockets with his umbrella. I mean, it's just little tiny McCoy touches, which I always find such fun. It's like an alien who's just so above everything that if he didn't add his own little idiosyncrasies, he'd be bored. It's also a bit of a play on Douglas Adams. You know, Douglas Adams, The Hitchhikers, and all that. the on running joke that the one thing you needed around the universe was your towel because it was had multiple functions, a towel
Yeah.
that you couldn't go anywhere without it. And McCoy sort of plays that with his props. His umbrella is like multifunction. It's very rarely do you ever see it use an umbrella. It's something he uses to point, poke, attach, pull. It's his towel.
Yeah.
I love this here, the way he says bow. His face, that's a real sort of angry McCoy you don't tend to see. Now destroy this bow. And I love these Cybermen, they just sound like nerds. Meaningless.
Very chatty as well, aren't they?
What are you going to do about it? I mean, yeah, I mean, I remember there was the Doctor Who 25th anniversary souvenir special magazine around this time.
I
And
think
one
that's
of
what I
it,
was talking about,
is it the one with
possibly.
the slightly red cover? Or it had lots, it was a
Possibly.
lot, well, it had a bit about this season. And one of the
Yeah.
arguments it had, which I thought was a little unreasonable, but true, that especially for this, the Cybermen have lost a lot of their power. They're just taken out so easily by everything.
Yes.
You think at one point, the only thing that could defeat the Cybermen largely was gravity or, well, gravity, I guess. I suppose there was fire as well, but by and large, they were virtually invincible. By this, rockets, coins, arrows,
Yeah.
and the same for the Daleks. It made the same point about the Daleks in Remembrance that it was weird because I think it's one of those things where at the time people don't see the output in the same ways they do retrospectively. And at the time, it was critiqued for like, well, the Daleks are pretty lose their vulnerability in Remembrance, and it's a bit confusing. But now, you never hear anyone say that about Remembrance.
No.
And then we have all the players coming together.
Yeah. She's lost it, hasn't she? She's
Yeah.
completely foolhardy at this
Yeah.
point.
Nemesis. And it's funny 'cause since these two, the Doctor and her, they've not actually met until this point. Well,
No.
they have in the
Yeah.
past, but
Yeah.
in the story, 3 episodes, and this is finally where they come face to face. Listen, you old bag. I mean, you've got to give the show credit at this point for just trying to
Yeah.
shift its angle. And after 25 years, it's a great point to start to be asking this question. Now, I'd obviously say the new series has probably over-egged it a bit much, but then I think the new series, to some degree, and with no disrespect to it, has been very influenced by American television drama telling, where you drop a mystery, you've got to start revealing the mystery at some
Mm.
point to satisfy that hunger, and I get that. But I think Doctor Who, in its British context, could always exist with just this sort of nod to a past and nothing
Yeah.
more. You don't know much about Gallifrey society. You don't know much about them. You don't know about how their race reproduces or their history or their society. I think even when this show did that, it never did the legacy of the Doctor any justice. This sort of approach of sort of seeing almost like facets of the Doctor's world is so much more powerful than when you actually see it or when you're actually
Yes.
informed
Yes.
about its history. And while I don't mind the timeless child stuff, as I've said before, in a perfect world, I don't think you need it.
You don't know.
But I do prefer it to the IKEA Gallifrey world of the 80s and 70s.
Well,
But
yes.
I still
IKEA
don't.
Gallifrey.
I just think if you want something to feel powerful and beyond our understanding, you don't try and rationalize it, which is
The
always a
only time,
temptation.
yeah, I think really the only time it really works is appearing to be something unusual and different and other is at the end of the war games. The rest of the
Yeah, no,
time
absolutely. I totally agree.
doesn't
And
really work.
quite frankly, with the Five Doctors, and again, I understand this rationale to make it about Gallifrey, but you could have done the Five Doctors, and it actually made more sense if it wasn't Time Lords. If the
Mm,
Death Zone was a bit like the War Games,
yeah, yeah.
another race set up, because it does make no sense why even. I mean, I know we start to sound very nerdy, but the whole point was that the Doctor didn't know what the Daleks were initially. And yet later on, Davison saying, that the Daleks were forbidden from being allowed into the war, into the death zone. For
Yeah.
it didn't make any sense. It made far more sense for that just not to have been Gallifrey. Hmm. It all goes back down to that classic rule of show but don't tell. Oh well, yes, this hasn't aged well, got to say. But none of that has.
No, no, not really. No,
You'd almost make that these days. That'd be like the most basic
it would have been
animatic
better
you'd
just
have.
being on the monitor rather than.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You didn't need to see it like that. The Chekhov's gun.
Yep.
Yeah. Or David doing another one of his death performances. And now we feel sorry for him.
Yes. Strange that.
But I kind of like it. I mean, there's a sort of morality is a confusing world, isn't it? It's a relative space to some degree.
Well, there is that, yeah, and also the 17th century was a very different time, and there's lots
Yeah.
of betrayal and distrust across the kingdom. There's a civil war and everything. So,
And how much choices would he have had in his world to have been anything different? But I mean, but in terms of audiences, it's interesting. How unlike in most Doctor Who's, in that sort of situation, you'd have had to redeem yourself through death.
yeah.
I like the way he actually took that chess set as well. Oh no, it'd have been there, wouldn't it? This would be the same place, so they'd have the chess set from the house. It doesn't work very well. End shot did McCoy well, so he's reused, isn't it? When McCoy's that and him walking out of the circus.
Yes, I've never disliked Silver Nemesis. I've never really got the dislike for it.
Hmm.
It's perfectly good. It does exactly what it sets out to do. It entertains and it has a vague 25th anniversary tie-in because it's silver. I think maybe there's the whole thing that this was the official 25th anniversary story and not
Yeah,
Remembrance of the Daleks, which would have made more sense to be the official. But I think it's just this J&T doing promotion. He's got
yeah,
two stories that he can
yeah.
use.
He wants to use the Remembrance of the Daleks to kick off Buzz for the
Mm,
series, so he wants to put that first.
yeah.
And then he's got this as for a date, which he's probably aware that most people won't care about. It's not,
Yes.
so it's an acknowledgement to fandom and to the history of the show. But he knows that his winning story for this 25th year, which is the more important sale, I think, for him than the date, the Daleks are the lead. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. I've just freeze framed it a few moments back of the shot of at the end of them sitting outside the house playing chess. And in the background, there is what I think is meant to be castles. but it actually just looks like a load of industrial towers. It's a really weird
Oh dear.
composite. But yeah, I love it. I mean, it's not the there's a lot of I've said this all my life. There's a lot of gems in McCoy's era, which are the ones which people don't consider gems. Yeah. Remember the Daleks thing's great. Curse of Fenric is amazing. The Hemovores obviously bring it down a bit, but it's still brilliant. Happy, not Happiness Patrol, Ghostlight, obviously. But I think Delta and the Bannermen, I think is, as I've said before, and me and Brian did the commentary for that. I love that. I think it's and again, all outside.
Yes.
It looks great. What other ones was I going to think? I mean, I think Survival's still pretty good. There's only a few which I think don't deliver anything, and I think the reason that because they stand out. I just feel like at this point, you really feel the show trying to find new ways of doing itself, and
Yeah.
that becomes interesting, even if they're not perfect.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. They all stand out to an extent, especially seasons 25 and 26. There's nothing really humdrum about them, whereas season 24 does
Yeah,
there is a hangover from
yeah.
mid early 80s.
I mean, I mean, as a kid, I quite enjoyed part three of Dragonfire.
Mm.
Is that three parters? Dragonfire three parts? No, it's four, isn't it?
I
It's
think it's
four.
4.
Four, yeah. The last part of Dragonfire I quite liked, but again, you're still feeling a little bit of the Baker era in the storytelling, but without the edge that Baker had. So it feels a
Yeah.
bit muted, bit neutered, and a bit there. But Delta and the Bannermen, I think is great. I think Paradise Towers, aside from the stupid cleaners, and if you can just enjoy Richard Breyer's performance for what it is, there's quite a lot of interesting things going on there.
Yeah.
And as you say, this season is very good. It's not so you've got Remembrance of the Daleks, Silver Nemesis, Happiness Patrol, and Greatest Show, and I'd say all of them are really interesting, diverse takes on a show which was 25 years old. And I like that. There's not one in that series that I would not rewatch. I think they're
No.
all brilliant and all very different.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Silver Nemesis has got a bit of remembrance, but yeah, great story, Silver Nemesis. I'd really recommend people to rewatch it and just enjoy it for the pacing and
Yes.
the
Definitely.
slightly
Yeah.
unusual storytelling.
100% agree. So, if you've watched along with us, let us know if you've got any thoughts about Silver Nemesis. So I think everyone's got thoughts about Silver Nemesis. So I'm really interested to hear them, hear from you about those. We'll be back with a new podcast for you soon. Until then, it's goodbye from James and myself.